Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. I'm your host and have been for the last 2.5 years, John Abbas. And I have an incredible guest lined up for you guys today. I think you're really going to enjoy this interview. But before I bring them on, if you could just take 5 seconds and wherever you're listening, whether it's Apple or YouTube or Google, just hit that subscribe button so that you get a quick notification every time I release a new episode. I have some great guests lined up and I do not want you to miss them. So today's guest is Pasha Esfandiary. He's the founder and CEO of Evoke Capital, which invests in tons of different types of real estate all over the country. Everything from homes to apartment complexes to trailer parks, you name it. I mean, he's just had massive, massive success. And ever since his early 20s, pretty much everything he's touched has been ultra successful. And the thing that I really love is he doesn't attribute his success to some genius strategy or something that he knows that everybody else doesn't. It's mostly common sense. He attributes it to a very simple strategy, which is foresight. And that's just simply paying attention to trends before the masses see them. And you'll see how he's had success after success after success, not because he's a genius, but because he just pays attention. And that awareness, which is really common sense, allows him to crush it time and time again. So Pasha shares his story going from professional poker player to super successful investor. And he also shares simple strategies for just staying ahead of most people when it comes to investing. I really think this is a great interview and I think you'll love it. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, Pasha, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm glad to have you on. Thank you for being here today.
I appreciate you getting me on. I'm always excited to do something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have a great story. And, listening to you in another interview, I really loved your story because it's full of transitions and transformations. And one of the things that I love most about your story, just listening to that other interview, is that once you became self-aware in your 20s, which I want to talk about, you've just like everything you've done from that point is like it's setting up a foundation for the next phase. And you build upon that foundation, you build upon that foundation. And I just thought that was so interesting, that you go from lost to professional poker player to sales to investor, and now you're building this really awesome legacy with your company Evoke Capital. And I was hoping that we could spend the first half of this interview just really like going through that story, and then the last part on just the most valuable lessons that you learn along the way that the listeners might be able to take and apply into their own businesses and lives. So
I would love to. Yeah.
Yay.
This is exciting.
Well, we got to start with your childhood, man. It all starts there. So can you just share a little bit about like what that was like?
Yeah, my childhood was quite interesting. There's definitely some adversity played there. I grew up in a really nice part of Silicon Valley, but we were broke, and so my father moved us here, me and my brother, when we were very young, 1987. My mother's cousin got killed by a missile in Iran, and my dad said, enough is enough. I have to go take my kids to America, essentially giving up everything. I mean, we had you name it. We had wealth, we had social status, and then even on top of that, my mother decided she wanted to stay in Iran as well too. She didn't know the culture in America. It was just too much for her. So my dad, against all odds, essentially just said, I am going to restart my life and move to America. It's crazy. Like, I get chills thinking about it, right? That's like what my father did. And he had a really hard time. He worked odd jobs. I mean, he had everything in Iran. I don't really understand the gravity of that until I got older, obviously. So everything I do, I essentially want to make my dad proud of me. And so transitioning on, my father was working all the time. We were living at my grandmother's house as a guest. My father was never really there. So me and my brother essentially had to raise ourselves, my brother being 5 years older than I, and figuring life out as it came. And I found that we both kind of gravitated towards other people. We raised ourselves. And so he went, one route. He ended up also skipping college to chase the poker life. And me too. When I graduated high school, I went into college for quite a bit. And I've always been very intelligent. And I could pick up things very quickly, but I didn't know how to apply myself. I never had that discipline growing up because I raised myself. I did what I wanted to do. So to fast forward from that, once I dropped out of college, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And then my brother ended up winning a big tournament in poker. And I said, if he could do it, I could do it. And I was right. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I was very young.
How old were you at that when you were starting to kill it in poker?
I mean, I was making pretty decent money at like 21, right?
Wow.
I had played poker for about a year and a half before, but then I started making some decent money when I was 21, and I ended up moving to Houston, Texas. The games were so juicy back there. And from 25 till about 20 or 21 to 25, I was killing it. I was traveling the world. I was playing poker. I was playing only cash games, and I was having fun, and I learned through just learning in life. But what I really realized when I became 25 years old, I remember I was living in Houston. Even though I was making good money, John, I didn't have any discipline in my life. And I would keep self-sabotaging myself. Anytime I would build up a bankroll, I would end up losing it in one night just because I need to rebuild. I need that like adrenaline rush, right? So fast forward from there, I decided this life is not for me. And let me actually try to go apply to be really serious in poker. Let me move to Vegas and let me really give this like a really like good shot. And I just quickly realized after 2 months, I don't like this lifestyle. I want to build something bigger than myself. So I pretty made a pretty big monumental change in my life at 25 years old and then thereon.
Wow. There's a lot to unpack with what you said. The first thing is just, we could have a whole interview on just Iranians coming over from during the revolution and what they've built in America because of what they had to deal with. I mean, your dad left a really wealthy lifestyle and started over from scratch to protect his family. And, that's, you think, you don't really think about it until you get older, how big that is, right? It's like us moving from the United States right now to some other country, leaving everything we know to start all over. And then the one thing I wish my dad would have done is move to LA instead of Bowling Green, Kentucky, when he came over from Iran. But that's okay. But the second thing that I really thought that you said was really, really impactful was just that self-sabotage because you need that, like the need to rebuild.
Yeah.
And it's, man, my story is really similar. I ended up moving to Vegas when I was 25 and I was in the nightlife. I was a VIP host at some of the top nightclubs, really great money. And I just, man, after 6 months, I couldn't do it anymore. And it was really wild. So you made this decision, even though your brother made a fortune in poker, you were doing really great in poker. That's another thing that's powerful, man. You just, to do well like that and to leave that cold turkey. What did you do next?
So really, what I really realized is that even though I was doing well by all, assumptions of numbers, right? Let's just say a plentiful life, a home. I could have done all that and just lived the traditional life. I didn't have the want or the passion to really put enough effort into poker to want to accelerate to where I knew I always wanted to really be in life.
Right.
So, and it's quite difficult because like in poker, you make really good money if you're decent at it, right? And it's easy come, easy go, but you make good money, but it's never like for the majority of players, unlike my brother or whatnot, it really kind of traps you at a level where you're making more than most entry or little intermediate level positions, but you're never going to make really, really buku money, right? And so I decided I wanted something bigger than my life. At the same time, I did really big part of my life and is the personal development courses that I took during that time really accelerated my results and really got me clear on what I wanted to do with my life. But I always knew I wanted to be in real estate. That was my end game. I got in poker because I knew, hey, when I hit this tournament or I have this much money, I'm going to go buy all this real estate. I'm going to create cash flow. I always knew I definitely wanted to do this. Probably in most cases, because my father probably wanted to do it. I mean, growing up, maybe this is just a Persian thing, but everyone in in Iranian culture, it's like, oh, that real estate, oh, I could have bought this 20 years ago. Oh, oh. And
Yep.
I know you get it. So I always had that in the back of my mind. I always wanted to create really, really big wealth through real estate. And there's a really pivotal moment in my life where I said, hey, I got to stop thinking so short term. I got to start thinking long term. Because if I make this decision to get out of poker, it's going to take a lot for me to rebuild. I'm going to have to start on the bottom. And, I'm not used to that. I'm used to being able to do what I want, whenever I want, however I want. And that's what I had to do. I had to take a step back a few times so that I knew that in the long run, in 10 years, that I'd be a lot more forward. And that's what I did. I had to take a step back in my life, all like things considering my life was still great. And I had to get an education. I had to relearn everything as a newbie. I had to make entry-level job commissions because I started off as a broker. I had to just start on the bottom and grind my way up. But I knew that would accelerate my results 10 years from now. And that's exactly what I did.
That's awesome. Now, when you say personal development courses, can you just share a little bit? Like, I know the books that I've read that have impacted me, like everything from Think and Grow Rich to Robert Kiyosaki's book. There's a lot. Like, which ones were that for you? Was it more mindset, more business? Was it general? Was it like specific? Like, do you have a couple that really made an impact for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Think and Grow Rich, by the way, is my favorite all-time book ever. And I read that every single year in my life because that's what really accelerated all my results. But, for personal development, it was emotional intelligence courses, experiential learning. Okay. And essentially what that is like, if anyone's done Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny, there's probably one or two exercises that you get like into an experimental emotional state. This is like that on crack, where for about 100 days, you're always like that. And they are, trying to get you into different emotional states all the time, because you can make really impactful decisions when that happens. That when I got into this course and I realized that, because I had been harboring so many things inside from my childhood, having to raise myself, only depending on myself, I didn't let anyone in. This course really kind of unlocked my whole life and like let me feel what I needed to feel, really unlocked my vision, unlocked all my relationships.
That's crazy. I went through the exact same thing. In Vegas, it was Choice Center. And I don't know if you've ever, you're kidding me.
No, that's exactly what I did.
Oh my God. So I was LV 71.
Really? Yeah. I was LV 122.
That changed everything for me. I moved to Vegas, opened up a restaurant, and I just went through there. And I, same as you, like just a lot from childhood that you don't even realize sometimes is holding you back. But man, that's so like in a million years, I would have never thought that we went to the exact same emotional intelligence course.
Yeah.
I went all the way through. I did all three parts, even the leadership. And that's
yeah, same. So I did that. And Robin actually told me like, hey, if you really want this to become a part of you, because I did, I knew that this is what I needed. She's like, you need to be in the work for 2 years. That's exactly what I did. I coached all the way through Legacy 3 different times. I did every single course. I really made it ingrained in who I am.
Right.
Because I knew, again, 10 years down the line, if I had this mindset, I carried it every day with me, I could accelerate my results even quicker. And again, that's how I look at my life all the time.
I have to call her and let her know that we're having a podcast together today.
That's so that'd crazy. Be amazing.
Yeah, that's so funny. So you go through this and then you get into real estate. That's the next phase. Is that right? As an agent. And then I believe from what I listened to, you quickly realized that being an investor is the way to be. Can you talk a little bit about that? How long were you an agent? why and when did you decide to transition very quickly?
Yeah, sure. I knew I needed an education. So I thought the first place would be to learn how to read my market, right? I
Right.
had formerly, or previously rather, did an internship where I volunteered 3 months of my time to go study under an investor friend of mine. And
Mm,
so he taught me the ropes on how to flip homes, how to buy homes sight unseen from the auction, right? Which is even more perceived as risk.
right.
And um, but I knew I wanted an education, so I wanted getting my broker license, and I was actually going through leadership at the time, and I just decided, let me be a broker.
Right.
And at that time, I think it was like 2010, I ended up getting so much business because I was, it's the way I live my life. I got so much business, I ended up having to give them away to other realtors because I couldn't handle what was coming at me. Because you could just
Right.
really essentially you put like concentrated effort to it, you can build a lot of this thing. So I did that for probably 6 months, and I didn't like the lifestyle of it. And I knew I always wanted to invest. So it wasn't like one transition. I always knew I wanted to invest. So I ended up taking that and a little bit of the poker money and buying my first sight unseen home, which is actually a mobile home in a 55 and over community. And I made, and I didn't even realize, like, this is how bad it was. I didn't even realize it was in a 55 and older community until I purchased it. And the office says, you can't own this home. Well, I do. Like, um, but then I made every mistake in the world in that. It was my first one. I don't, really realize the price points differences on fixing this compared to fixing that. And I still made $3,000. And then I got the bug, John. And then it was
Yep.
full flight ahead.
That's incredible. Just once you taste it, it doesn't even have to be a lot of money. It's just like once you taste success that you created profit, like once you create profit, it's like something just ignites inside of you. And it's just like, you want to focus all of your energy on that. And so you continued flipping homes. Is that what you did for the next little phase?
Yeah, I did that for about, I believe, 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
I did that. We did about like 40, 50 if you count my joint ventures. And I did some in different states and whatnot. Then we moved to Los Angeles. My wife wanted to pursue her acting career, which quickly fizzled out, which I'm totally okay with because the demands of being an actor in LA is just horrendous, right? Which has led her to her truth path now. I flipped my first home here in Los Angeles, realized that I was now a very small fish in a very big pond compared to Vegas, where I was actually, pretty well known. I was able to spread out my funds between like 5 or 6 homes. Now it's just like one home and one remodel.
Right.
And I didn't enjoy that. And so I quickly, again, decided to go where there's less competition. I live my life, and that's probably from the poker background as well too, is I'm not the best poker player. Never claimed to be, never wanted to be. I just found the best games. So everything I do in investing is always about where is there less competition and where there's high yields. And what I did is identified like a growth pattern in Los Angeles, because downtown just blew up, and north of that area was really underdeveloped, really underpriced. No one wants to move south in LA. No one wants to move east. West is already too high of price points. And so I ended up just taking all of my money, buying all the lots that I could that were empty north of downtown. And I've been building on them for the last like 5 years before I transitioned into multifamily.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of big fish in LA in real estate.
It's crazy.
The Manny Koshbins of the world.
It's insane, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's so smart. Just finding, and this I think is really powerful for all the listeners, is just a common sense approach to investing. It's not like what's hot right now, or it's not what's the red ocean, but like in 5 years, in 10 years, where's the opportunity going to, and it's usually just logical, right? Like, some people have like a McDonald's or a Starbucks philosophy. They're just like, wherever they open up a Starbucks, I'm just going to start investing in that area, because obviously they have billions of dollars to invest in research. But I just love that you started buying lots in an area where you knew it was, and of course it did. So I do have a specific question on that.
Okay.
Like, how did you start building on those? Like, did you find a developer? Did you partner with somebody? Did you hire contractors? Like, what was like logically going through your mind when you're buying these lots, how to develop them and turn them for a profit?
I wish there was a really well thought out answer. I am somebody that just, if I see something and I see an opportunity and the math
Yeah.
works, I just go and attack it. Right. I really enjoy having to figure out these problems. Like, okay, I know this works. Let me go figure it out. And that's what I did. Fortunately, at the time, when I bought the lots, originally, I was partnered with a contractor. So we were able to really do the math, make sure it all fits. But the process of developing, that was, I was learning as I went, you know.
Got it.
And so, but I refined it every single time. And so when you buy right, though, you're able to pad it, use a lot of cushion, especially if you use conservative numbers like I do, right? I'm
Right.
always ultra conservative in my numbers. And I truly believe that anyone in real estate, some of the best deals that you could ever have are the ones that you do not buy. And don't like, I did that very early on in my career. In the first few flips, I kind of was, I wanted to buy some, and I realized that was not the right long-term decision.
Right.
So I don't ever get emotional about
Hmm.
any of my purchases. So I just knew that this area was going to blow up. I knew that the lots were going to be worth a lot. So what's my risk? My risk is, well, even if I just had to sit on these lots, I'm going to make a lot of money. And I knew that given the price per square foot we can build for, the price points that we're selling for, the acceleration growth that's happening in the area, there was so much asymmetric likability to these. So then I said, this is a good bet, and let me just go do this.
Gotcha. So to those listening, that obviously, I think, more wealth has been created in real estate than pretty much any other industry combined. And there's a lot of really valuable skills to really do well in real estate, such as, trends, running numbers, negotiating, things that you've done. And so I just want to ask to clarify for the people listening, where did you build most of those skills? Was it in being a realtor, negotiating on both sides? Was it having that mentor with flipping homes? Or was it having that partner that was a builder? Or was it just a combination of all three in time? But was there one place where it's just like you really like was able to hone in on a lot of those skills that allow you to do what you do today?
I think I actually think it was my poker training. I really do, because what poker does is makes you realize that you have to be aggressive. Like, let's say you're playing a poker tournament, right?
Yep.
If you don't get aggressive, you're just gonna get blinded out. So again, how does that translate? You got to be in the game to win it, okay? And you got to make moves. You got to make smart moves, but you got to make moves.
Right.
Secondly, game selection. I translate into that as where there's less competition, there's going to be higher yields. It's kind of one thing I live my life, but the most important is in poker is there's short-term results that always happen. You win and lose money, and sometimes you can put your money in good and you can get bad beated, right? But it teaches you how to make good long-term bets over and over and over again, and the math's going to win in your favor. And that's how I apply all of my investing. That's how I apply my life, and that's everything I do. Now, everything else helped. The mentor part, I want to touch on that, because like I said, everything has a little piece of this winning formula, I guess. But the mentor, to have somebody to tell you what you're doing wrong, which is really important, what you're doing right, which is great. But I'd rather have someone tell me what I'm doing wrong so I can adjust this and avoid those mistakes. That is so key and whatsoever. And then one last thing, and I'm sorry I'm going on tangent. It's like,
no, not at all.
The education. This is the crazy thing to me, is that there's a lot of people that say, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how I do, or you do what you do. I'm like, well, you can. You just got to go read the books. You got to go read what's online. So the information is out there. There's not one case where someone can't go and learn what I know, essentially.
Yeah, I think it was Jim Rohn. He was in the audience and he was talking to this large crowd of people, and he recommended everyone read this book. And he said something that I thought was really powerful. He's like, I'm recommending, he's like, you spent thousands of dollars to be here at this conference and listen to me speak. And he's like, I'm telling you to read a book. And he's like, I know for a fact that less than 10% of you will actually buy and read this book. And it's like, the information's out there.
Yeah.
But people just, for whatever reason, it's laziness that prevents them from taking things to the next level. And that's just like, it's just a testament to that. It's really crazy. So you're in California, you're buying lots, you're building, things are going well. What happens next? Because you have a pretty good transition from there after. And I just want to touch on why you did it. Could like switched everything, sold everything off, and just can you talk a little bit about that and why you made that decision?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so everything was going great in my life. Again, I think I'm in the next chapter of my life. I started really thinking. My wife and I are planning to have a child soon. We're going through
Congrats.
the process of surrogacy. Thank you so much. I'm so stoked to be a father. It's crazy. I'm actually quite obsessed with it right now. And I started really thinking about my life, about how the next 10 years want to go. Right? I've lived these 10 years out. Now it's the next 10 years. What do I want? What do I want to accomplish? And I rewrote all my 10-year goals. And it really became a lot more so about passive income. How do I be a stay-at-home father? Because again, to remind the audience, my father wasn't there, but that's because he had to work, right?
Right.
And so I want to reverse that trend. I want to be there 24/7 for my kids as much as I can. I want to get those moments that I wish I had as a child, right? That I couldn't because my dad had to make sure we were safe. And
absolutely.
And so everything started to really switch for me, and I've always knew I wanted to get a multi-family. And really, it's crazy how it kind of took off, right? I believe in manifestation. I believe in all this, and so I believe if you set your goals high, things happen, and you see different opportunities, and you go for it. So I was actually looking in a market when I first started. I actually only wanted to get into essentially some Section 8 housing because of some long-term goals I have for low income, and I was just contacting a broker out there, and she's like, "Hey, I have 74 units. They're all comprised of like fourplex, triplexes. Do you want to take a look at it?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Let me look at it." And this is when I first was starting to underwrite these deals, and I was like, I don't really want to look at this, but I do remember there was this moment. It was at 8. It was really 8 p.m. at night, and I just said, "You know what? Let me do a really deep dive because this is going to take me about 3 hours to do it. But let me just do this." And it's so interesting. It gives me goosebumps now. I made that decision to just power through, even though I was tired. I was at home with my wife. I did, and I just said, "Holy smokes, these numbers are rocking." And then I then sent it over to another friend. I said, I got to be missing something here. Like, this is ridiculous, right? I'm even have my expense ratio at 60%, right? This is like, and it's still crushing. And he goes, "No, if these are the numbers legit, you got to buy it." So I bought it while I'm in escrow. I had no plans of like scaling this big. While I'm in escrow, the property management company said, "Hey, there was a 180 unit complex right down the street that fell out of escrow 2 years ago, and we operate it. Do you guys want to buy it?" And I said, "Yeah, let me look at the numbers." And the numbers were great. And I just said, "Oh my God, how do I do this?" And again, it just propelled. Then it became where I bought the apartment complex, and then all these other opportunities kind of started to come away. And this was, John, 14 months ago. Like, and now we're at 1,000. I'm at 1,000 units now.
You went from 0 to 1,000 units. You should be on the Bigger Pockets podcast. That's like the craziest thing I've ever heard. That's awesome. Now, when you were looking at these deals, were you just looking at cap rate? Like, what was your main metric that was like important to you at that time?
Yeah, for me, it was cash flow.
Cash flow.
It was absolutely cash flow. What's the cash flow I'm getting, and how much can I do it? Also, like, coupled with, do I have availability to increase the rents? Yes. Can I do some renovations? Yes. But that to me was just all cheddar, like all extra.
Yeah.
I was looking at a pure cash flow play, and these deals smoked.
Wow. Now, I don't mean to pry too personal, but like, were you using leverage in these deals, or were you just paying cash for these deals?
Yeah. So, I had built up a pretty nice portfolio of residential real estate throughout the years. I've been able, luckily, to afford to buy them, most of them on my own, but I did run out of money, I want to say about like 8 months ago. So I syndicated 4 mobile home parks recently as well too. So now the model has shifted because for me, I realized the mobile home parks, I believe we have like a 3 to 5 year window where we can go and still get this inefficiency in the market of the sellers that we have.
Yep.
And so that's what I'm attacking wholeheartedly. And I built a team around me, and I'm all about scalability, and I'm all about accelerating results. Now, again, I'm super conservative, and there's probably a lot of deals that we pass up. We have nothing in the pipeline right now. But yeah, that's kind of just how the transition happened.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's like another lesson for the listeners. Almost every wealthy person that I interview, they have like $1,200 in their checking account. It's like, you don't keep cash. You're like, and people, like, they're mind blown because they don't understand why most wealthy people are cash poor most of the time. It's just, I mean, why? Like, what's the point of leaving it in the account? It's not making you anything. There's no ROI there. So that's really funny. So I want to have you, as we pivot a little bit into your company now, Evoke Capital, can you share a little bit about that company? What you do? Is there anything for the audience? Is it education? I just want to have you share a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I had a more to offer. We're pretty small in nature compared to other operators. We are just starting. We've syndicated 4 deals. We are going to start a fund here pretty soon because, again, I believe all of the yields and the less competition to go along with my thesis are in these secondary and tertiary markets, where in mobile home parks is so different than multifamily, right? Because it's so transitory. And so the next step is we're going to create a fund. We do have a website. I'm always available to just have conversations with anyone if you just email me from the website. But we're just, really, really good operators. We find that we're only buying from mom and pop sellers. We're finding a lot of inefficiency in their accounting and in their operations. We go in there, we clean it up, we bump up rents very nominally to what market rents are, slowly over a 5-year period. Now we don't jack it up like these other operators and these that give us a bad rap. And we're still making really, really good margins. I mean, for our investors, we're averaging easily right out the gate over 20% IRRs. And
that's awesome.
And on a 5-year average, on a cash on cash average return, I think it's something ridiculous, like 14%.
Wow, that's super. So you are doing syndication. And there'll be more in the pipeline in the future.
There will absolutely be more in the pipeline. I don't want to stop the team, right? I'd rather have a small piece on a bunch of deals rather than, me to do more of a shuffling act.
That's awesome. I just love when I chat with people like that want to do real estate, their mindset and the direction that they take. Because me and my wife, we love real estate. She sells real estate. I own a preschool, and our real estate investing is we focus on like high-end short-term rentals.
Yeah.
And so we focus on cabin, beach, lake. That's the only 3 markets that we invest in. Right. We look for, world-class view, and then we build everything from an investment standpoint around that. All the marketing is based on the view, because that to me is like what people want more than anything else, is just breathtaking. And plus, with Airbnb and VRBO, it's like pictures is the only thing that you have to sell it to a customer. And so that has to be the most important thing. And, that's just the avenue that but now we're at this place where, it's just like, what's next in real estate? And so I just love chatting with other people that are crushing it in real estate in a whole different arena. And I just love because you're focusing on an area that a lot of people are scared of, low income, Section 8, mobile home parks, and people are just scared to death, but you're just jumping in with both hands and feet. Like what's the mindset there? Why do you think so? Well, maybe I don't want to ruin it for people and get them all interested in it because you're already killing it. But like, why do you think most people are so scared, and why are you so attracted? Are you attracted to it primarily because everybody else is scared?
Yeah, primarily. What I will say, I want to challenge all of your audience. And I really want to say is you've really got to challenge yourself in the sense of what are your positions in life and philosophies? Are they actually, I'm going to take this a little further. Is it actually your philosophy, or is it something you learned along the way that you've just reinforced for the past 20 years? Now, let me put this into context for exactly what we're talking about, right? The stigma around mobile home parks are, it's not a safe place to live. There's drug dealers there.
That's right.
But where did you get that information? You got that information from movies, from news clips, from sensational news. do you know anyone that lives at mobile home parks? Have you talked to there? Have you ever went? Have you spent time in there? Have you talked to these tenants? I would actually probably argue for the most part, no. Some, yes. But when you really realize when you go in there, most of them, blue-collar workers. They're
That's right.
just trying to get by. They're great people, right? And they all just need housing, right? They may need housing at a lower bracket for several reasons. Maybe their spouse left them. Maybe they have 3 children. Maybe they weren't left in a great position. Maybe they don't have the education. Maybe, there's all these reasons why, but there's such a swarm of great people in this country. And so I would always want to say is question your beliefs. So if I find something that I have a stigma towards or a preconceived notion towards, I do try to stop myself real quick and say, what is my belief? Let me at least do more in this investigation. And that's what I did with mobile home parks, because I had that stigma. I saw 8 Mile, I saw all these movies, and I just said, no, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But like, look, the numbers make sense. Let me just do some more education. Let me really find out what's going on. Let me talk to other mobile home park owners and some of the people in my network. And I questioned my own beliefs, and it led me to where I'm at now.
Go ahead. Sorry.
There's another thing that I always really fall back on. This is more on my own, I guess, spiritual side, or maybe it came from just ingrained from me feeling like a guest growing up in my own home. Everyone deserves good homes. And, I've always been a champion of the little guy or someone who needs it a little bit more. So in anything that I do, I want to provide good homes. And so I love being the operator of these places, because I know I treat my tenants like gold in every single properties. And not a lot of people do. And everyone deserves, whether you're paying $300 rent or $5,000 in rent, you should be treated like white glove service, in my opinion. And that's what.
Man, that's so powerful. And I can attest to what you just said a minute. So my preschool, we have 150 kids, and we're located literally next door to a huge mobile home park. Mm-hmm. This building, I lease it from the guy that owns both. He owns the preschool building, the land. He won't sell it to me. And the mobile home park. And we've never in all of our years ever had one single issue coming from that mobile. And there's 110, I think, in that park. Mm-hmm. Not one issue. It's as safe as can be. So you're absolutely right. But before I bought the preschool, I had that notion as well. I'm just like scared to death. It's just like, man, what goes on in there? It's where all the murders happen. But it's just not the case, and that's really powerful. And I want to finish up with just having you speak a little bit to some of the habits that you have now that you can honestly say has given you the best results in your business and life. Whether it's a routine, something that you do, because I listen to you talk, and I don't want to spoil it from the other interview, but like, man, there's some things that you do, such as journaling, that just were really powerful. And I was just wondering if you could share some of those habits with those listening in today.
Yeah, sure. There's a ton of habits that I have now. A lot in this last year, I think, because I want to be a father soon, and a healthy father, because I'm going to be a little bit older. Is it's all around like biohacking and longevity. Really, really big on that right now. But I'll say that I think this sounds cliche because everyone does it, but it's really true. But I might have a little bit of a twist on it that might help your audiences. So Think and Grow Rich, it's all about journaling and training your subconscious mind. So someone like myself who has ADD, I need things to be on top of mind for me. So I think the most impactful thing that I introduced into my life, where I really saw accelerating results in creating like businesses or relationships or whatnot, is I journal avidly every single morning on top of, all the other things that I do. But I do it with the twist. So I don't just journal. I don't just talk about my day. I don't talk about what happened or what I'm feeling. That does come out naturally, because sometimes I do need to vent to myself and get clear on who I am, what I'm thinking. Now, I always talk about what I'm grateful for right in the morning, 5 things I'm grateful for. And then I fill up all the things that I want to fill up with, whatever I'm feeling, what I want to create, whatnot. But then the things that are the most important for me, I get myself in a state of conviction and I write down my goals. So there's like 5 different things that I write down at least 5 to 10 times every morning. Like I will build Evoke to having 5,000 units. And I do that with conviction in a state of confidence. I talk about my family. I talk about my wife. I talk about these things because then what happens is I train myself to subconsciously already be in those results. And then what happens is I start to attack my results a little differently, right? So to put in perspective, let's say your goals are to make $100 in this month. You're going to hear and see different things to just make $100. But
Right.
if you said, if I have to make $100,000 this month, you're going to see and hear different opportunities and then go down those doors. So once you already have trained yourself for the results you're looking for, you start to go down those doors, have those conversations, see those opportunities, explore those opportunities, and say, and that's what really has led me to creating, because 90% is mindset, right? Or 80% or whatever you say. I think it's like 90% because all the education's out there, all the information and education's out there.
Man, that's so powerful. And you're right. The mind is such a powerful thing. There's two examples that I always come back to when I journal, just awareness, right? The first one is how, like, when you buy a car, you notice that car everywhere and you never noticed it before, but it's just that awareness. Or another one is like when there's like a crowd of hundreds and hundreds of people and they're all yelling or shouting, like when somebody says your name, it's like you can spot that.
Yeah.
And all that noise, like it's just like your brain has the ability to focus in on what you tell it to focus on. And whether you want to or not, it's subconscious. So it's so powerful, man, that like journaling and some of the things that you do. I love talking to other entrepreneurs, like their routines and a lot of them have similar ones, just like what you talk about, like that conviction, writing down your goals, just being organized with it. So, man, I tell you, Pasha, this was a really great interview, man. There's so many things that I think everybody can take away from. The thing that I love most about this interview is it's a journey that a lot of people go through, right? Like, and yours, it didn't start at 12 or 13. Like, you were in your 20s, mid 20s, lost. And once you found that clarity, you were able to build an incredible, business, balance, everything for yourself. And so, a lot of people, they think they don't have it all figured out, by the time they're 25, it's too late, blah, blah, and it's just not the case. So, man,
it's not the case at all.
I really appreciate you sharing all that. Is there anything else that you want to share before? Well, I do want to have you share, the best place to connect with you, follow any of your content. Is there like one place that you publish and post things more than others? And where can people access that?
I actually think I just started kind of posting my random funny thoughts on Twitter. So you can just Twitter me at Pasha Esfandiary and you'll find me there. I don't really use other social media too much. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I rarely reuse it. But if you could just go to my website or LinkedIn, and my website is www.evokecapital.net. But if you want to connect with me, I would just say Twitter is probably the best way. And I have some random funny thoughts on there, like sometimes like what appraisers do to me and my mental state and why they give me gray hairs and,
Yeah, I'll post all that in the show notes. I do have one last question. Do you ever just play poker just to see if you still got it?
Yes and no. I mean, I enjoy playing now with my friends, when you're having a few beers and you're playing for like $100, $200. Right. It is the most fun because then you can trash talk to your friends and bluff your friends and whatnot. But my brother is a professional poker, so it's in our family. So it happens. I'll go to his house. We'll play little friendly games, and me and my brother have a big rivalry. So he always beats me. Like he just holds over well on me so well, and he's just way better than me. So yeah, I mean, it's in my family. It's always going to be around.
That's awesome. Well, man, I'm looking forward to seeing some of your syndication deals coming up. I mean, I think you run a really great business. You have a great philosophy. My favorite part of this entire interview is just how you treat your tenants on top of running a great business. A lot of people don't talk like that. It's all about the bottom line, and it seems like everything that you do is a win-win for everyone involved, whether it's the investor, the tenant, yourself. And so I really love that balance all around philosophy. It's rare and I don't hear that a lot. Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that, man. And I hope I can have you on this podcast again in a few years once you're at 20,000 units, and
Yeah,
it's
I
just
can't wait.
absolutely crushing. So I'm interested to
Right.
see what the market's going to do in the near future. A lot of moving parts, but man, just thank you for your time today.
This was awesome. The energy was great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.